This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by the upcoming Homegrown Weed Summit, which is being run by longtime listener to the show, Earl, along with his super solid team of planners. The Homegrown Weed Summit is the first and only online event dedicated to teaching you how to grow elite cannabis from seed to harvest right in your home. The Homegrown Weed Summit is coming up on February 15th and will feature 5 days of online events with noted cannabis pros like Tommy Chong, Danny Danko, and Ed Rosenthal. You can learn more about the Homegrown Weed Summit and get your free ticket now over at homegrownweedsummit.com. That's homegrownweedsummit.com. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Tuesday, January 26th, 2021, and you're tuned in to episode 1014 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We lead off the day's news in Massachusetts, where the Commonwealth Dispensary Association has dropped the lawsuit it filed against the state over rules allowing social equity program participants to have a lock on delivery licenses for the program's first 3 years. We covered this storyline last week as word first broke of the lawsuit, followed up by a number of dispensaries quitting their membership with the CDA as a result. According to the Boston Globe, the association lost 10 members in all over the ill-conceived lawsuit. The genius of the state's plan to only allow social equity members to run delivery businesses in the first 3 years is that it will allow a lot of entrepreneurs to get their businesses started without having the large amount of capital needed to open up brick-and-mortar shops. If the CDA had been successful in their suit, it would have destroyed that entirely and just allowed dispensaries to own the whole board. There's no word as of yet whether the 10 dispensary members that bounced from the CDA will be returning. It seems like this lawsuit speaks poorly of the decision-making abilities of the CDA's leadership, so I would be questioning a return to membership if I were one of those shops. On Friday, a Virginia State Senate committee passed a bill to legalize adult-use marijuana by a count of 8-7, sending it on its way one step further towards its hopeful eventual passage. Senate Bill 1406 would set up a taxed and regulated sales program that would allow adults of age the ability to buy up to an ounce of marijuana while growing up to 4 plants at home, with 2 allowed to be mature at any one time. Under the legislation, an independent state agency would be created to oversee the program, which would center around a 21% sales tax that could grow with local add-ons to be as high as 30%. Right now, the bill moves on to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and the House of Delegates is set to start their own deliberations over a companion bill. Virginia's Governor Ralph Northam is firmly on record as being in favor of legalization, and both chambers of legislation are controlled by Democrats in Virginia, so there's good hope here that legalization will pass through. Swing over to Marijuana Moment for all the details on this and to give a read of the full bill yourself. As we always do, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. Our final top story in the day brings us out west to Arizona, where on Friday, adult use sales spooled up just a couple of months after voters passed legal adult use legalization via ballot measure. That is a remarkable achievement in good regulation, considering it took my own home state of Maine 4 years to implement sales after we voted in legalization via Citizens Initiative in 2016. Arizona officials started accepting applications for adult use sales just earlier this month, and late last week notified 73 existing medical shops that they were clear to begin adult use sales. Lines of customers soon sprang up around dispensaries as word got out, and from all initial reports, the state's soft opening for adult use sales has been pretty smooth. Congratulations to everyone in Arizona and out who helped make that happen. For the record, there are now 15 states out of 50 in the United States that have legal adult use cannabis on their books. Those are the top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, the upcoming Homegrown Weed Summit, which is being run by longtime listener to the show, Earl, along with his super solid team of planners. The Homegrown Weed Summit is the first and only online event dedicated to teaching you how to grow elite cannabis from seed to harvest right in your home, and is coming up on February 15th through the 19th. Earl and his team have assembled a super stellar cast of cannabis cultivation pros who will walk you through all the things you need to know to grow great cannabis at home. If you've been wanting to round out your knowledge of cannabis cultivation, or if you're ready to jump full into the marijuana growing pool, then this event is for you. Just swing over to homegrownweedsummit.com to learn more and to get your own free ticket to the event. You can also peruse the full list of pros that will be presenting at the Homegrown Weed Summit. One more time, that's homegrownweedsummit.com. Big thanks to everyone over at Homegrown Weed Summit for the support that helps us keep the news train chugging along. All right, time for the Blitz. Multi-state cannabis operator Harvest Health and Recreation closed a sale-leaseback deal yesterday on one of its facilities in Florida to Illinois-based Innovative Industrial Properties for a total worth $34.6 million. Under these kind of transactions, cannabis companies sell their facilities for an influx of cash and then go on to rent the space from the new company buying it up. While it does sacrifice the benefits of owning your own infrastructure, it is a nice way to free up large chunks of cash. As Marijuana Business Daily has it, Innovative Industrial Properties now has 67 total properties in its portfolio, spread out over 17 states. Kyle Yeager over Marijuana Moments picked up on news of a newly formed organization that will lobby Congress to pass more progressive psychedelic laws. The Plant Medicine Coalition was started up by activists involved with Washington, D.C.'s successful campaign that passed psychedelic decriminalization in November. There's a big push on the national scale to advance psychedelic laws as more people come around to the idea that drug use is better taxed and regulated than it is prohibited. So this is a storyline that I'd make sure to have on your general news radar. Ben Adlin, bringing home another headline for Marijuana Moments, covered news out of Washington state, where on Friday, lawmakers passed a proposed bill to legalize homegrown marijuana. Washington voters were ahead of the legalization curve when they passed adult use via ballot measure back in 2012, but they did not sign on to allow homegrow. So it actually remains a felony to grow cannabis at home in Washington state. On Friday, the House Commerce and Gaming Committee voted 7-2 in favor of House Bill 1019, the legislation that would rectify that, giving the green light to adults of age to each grow up to 6 plants at home with no more than 15 plants per household. Marijuana Business Daily brings its chart game to bear on this next headline, which is built around the running quarterly wholesale price for legal marijuana in Colorado. As the chart has it, that price has been on the uptick as of late, rising to $1,721 per pound as of January of this year. That compares to a low of $846 per pound in October of 2018 and a previous high north of $2,000 way back in January of 2015. It's also just a touch under the amount of money cultivators got on the wholesale market for a pound of cannabis when the market first opened up in Colorado in January of 2014, when that price was $1,876. This is good, insightful information to hoover up, so I'd swing over to Bart Shaman's story on this one for all the details and whatnot. A new report out of Delaware estimates that the state would bring in as much as $43 million a year in tax revenue if it were to legalize adult-use marijuana. The estimate by the Delaware Auditor's Office assumes an eventual state industry worth $215 million a year, of which 20% would be carved off as tax for the state. Delaware is a neighbor to New Jersey, which is in the process of legalizing adult-use marijuana itself, so the pressure for Delaware to match that policy will only grow as people start driving over the border to New Jersey dispensaries to shop. So keep Delaware on your radar. There was a flurry of marijuana reform activity in North Dakota late last week as both a new bill was filed to legalize adult-use marijuana, while activists behind a citizens' initiative to do the same were approved by the Secretary of State to begin signature collection. There's an interesting twist in this story as the state rep behind House Bill 1420, Representative Jason Doctor, is not actually a supporter of legalization, but rather wants to set in place a more restrictive legalization scheme as compared to the aforementioned and more progressive citizens initiative, which would allow for Homegrow, whereas Representative Doctor's bill would not. The proposed legalization ballot measure that was approved for signature collection by the Secretary of State on Friday targets the 2022 elections and has a target goal of 26,904 valid signatures of support. Our final headline on the day has us winding down in New Mexico, where late last week, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham reiterated her support for adult use legalization, zeroing in on the economic benefits of ending prohibition during an interview on KOB-TV, which you can watch for yourself over at Marijuana Moment. In the same week, New Mexico's State Senate Majority Leader Peter Wirth said that he has talked to a number of lawmakers working on legalization legislation and pressed them on the need to include stout social justice and equity provisions. So New Mexico is another state that you want to have on your short list of states soon to legalize. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, the Homegrown Weed Summit, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in, starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.